Good morning. Today is Friday, September 26th. This is Wake Up with KERA News, and I'm Andrew Garcia. It's looking to be a sunny and clear weekend, just in time for the start of the State Fair of Texas. We'll have highs in the upper 80s all weekend, nightly lows in the 60s. Micah Parsons returns to Dallas this weekend as the Green Bay Packers face the Cowboys. We've got a preview of Sunday's game after the news. Local advocacy groups last night held a vigil for victims of this week's shooting at the Dallas ICE field office. KERA's Dylan Duke reports organizers want ICE to reform how it handles detainees after one was killed and two others hospitalized in the attack.
The vigil took place outside Parkland Hospital, where organizers believe one of the victims is being treated. Azel Alvarez is a member of the immigrant rights group El Movimiento DFW. He said there's a lot of fear in the immigrant community after the shooting.
And it's important that we shine a light on what's happening in Dallas and everywhere throughout the U.S.
He said ICE should be more transparent and give information about who the victims are. Federal investigators say the suspected shooter planned the attack for months and was targeting ICE officers. For KERA News, I'm Dylan Duke in Dallas.
Migrants waiting to be processed before Wednesday's shooting have been moved about 40 miles away from Dallas to the Prairieland Detention Center in Alvarado. Some could be moved to other detention centers after processing.
Local immigration attorneys were told their clients were moved safely to the Prairieland Detention Center in Alvarado, and some could be moved to other detention centers once they are done with processing. Dallas-based immigration attorney Jaime Barron says the distance could complicate their cases because clients won't have quick access to their attorneys.
So sadly, the distance affects the proper legal representation and defense of a client.
He says some might feel pressured to agree to voluntary deportation and give up their legal rights. The Dallas ICE field office is currently closed for check-ins for the rest of the week and will reopen Monday. For KERA News, I'm Priscilla Rice in Dallas.
Micah Parsons is returning to Dallas this week as the Cowboys face Green Bay on Sunday. The showdown comes after the controversial trade of Parsons to the Packers and as America's team has struggled to find their footing so far this season. KERA's Bekah Morr sat down with the Denton Record Chronicle's John Fields to give us a preview of that game.
Let's start with a quick refresh. Can you remind us why Dallas traded Micah to Green Bay a few weeks ago?
Yeah, well, it all started with the long-running contract extension dispute between Parsons and the Cowboys that continued into training camp where Parsons was sitting out with an injury. I think the now infamous story was the talks directly between Jerry Jones and Parsons, where Jones felt like the two of them had really worked out a deal and that they had come to terms. Parsons then later talked with his agent, and the word from their end is they never really felt like there was a deal in place. From that point on, it kind of felt like, at least from Jones's perspective, that the trust might have been broken between the two, and maybe the best solution was just to part ways. So the Cowboys found a deal with the Packers to get that done, traded Parsons for defensive tackle Kenny Clark and first-round picks in 2026 and 2027. Parsons also got the big extension he was wanting, a 4-year, $188 million deal from Green Bay. And as we'll explore more in depth, that's a move that's certainly taken a toll on the Dallas defense.
Yeah, that was my next question. How do you think losing Micah has impacted the Cowboys defense?
I mean, the results have been pretty astonishing, to be honest. Dallas had the best defense in the league last year by expected points added, actually the last 4 years when Parsons was on the field. And they were the worst in the league in the same category with Parsons not on the field. And we're starting to see exactly how much of an impact that's had. The Cowboys have had one of the 6th lowest sack rates in the league, which makes a ton of sense when you lose a pass rusher of Parsons' caliber who had 12-plus sacks each of the last 4 years and has already put up 1.5 sacks in 3 games for Green Bay. The Cowboys have also allowed the 3rd most yards in the league thus far, and they've given up the most passing yards in the league by far at 900. So it's just all around been a really poor defensive unit this year that it feels like Parsons maybe helped mask some of those issues when he was around last year.
Yeah, and to add insult to injury, pun intended, CeeDee Lamb was also hurt in last week's game against the Bears. That's got to put the team in an even tougher position.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a brutal blow to that offense. Lamb obviously had 110 or more receiving yards in each of the first 2 games of the season. He's such a critical part of everything they want to do offensively. And he was injured actually kind of playing out of position for a wide receiver. He got a handoff out of the backfield early in last week's 31-14 loss to the Bears. And there's been some controversy around the play call that Brian Schottenheimer later defended. I mean, just putting your star receiver in the backfield like that, there's folks that would argue you're kind of asking for trouble there. But ultimately, I mean, football is a game where there's going to be the danger of injury on any given play. And unfortunately for the Cowboys, it just so happened that that occurred with Lamb here. At this point, he looks doubtful to play against Green Bay, despite some optimism coming out of him and some other folks. So, I mean, it's just another challenge for them amid a tough matchup.
Okay, now this matchup with Green Bay. What can we expect to see there this weekend?
There's really 2 different ways to look at how the Cowboys have started. You could look at it as there's some Brandon Aubrey heroics away from an 0-3 start. But on the flip side, they're also a close loss to the Eagles away from being 2-1. Those typical fine margins in the NFL that tend to define success versus failure. On the flip side, the Packers have stormed out to a 2-1 start, got a big win over the Lions in week 1, but they did have kind of a surprising loss to the Browns last week. Obviously, this is the same Green Bay team as well that knocked Dallas out of the playoffs 2 years ago with a 48-32 win. And it wouldn't be all that surprising to see a similar performance this time around, given some of the passing yards that the Cowboys have given up the last few weeks. So we'll see how it goes, but it's certainly not a matchup that looks great for Dallas, at least on paper.
That was Denton Record Chronicle sports reporter and editor John Fields speaking with KERA's Bekah Morr. Other than the Cowboys, there's some other Dallas teams playing this weekend. Dallas Trinity FC take on Lexington SC tonight. FC Dallas takes on the Portland Timbers tomorrow. And the Rangers' season comes to a close this weekend as they start their final series against the Cleveland Guardians. While the Rangers' postseason hopes ended earlier this week, they do have a chance to play spoiler, as the Guardians are vying for the chance to win their division, currently tied with the Detroit Tigers. The State Fair of Texas opens today for its 24-day run at Fair Park in Dallas. Enjoy midway rides, agricultural events, performances, parades, and, of course, fair food. The annual event also showcases music from a variety of genres on 3 stages. On the bill tonight is Texas country singer Wade Bowen. To see details and more arts events, head to the Go See DFW calendar at KERAnews.org/calendar. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up with KERA News. I'm your host, Andrew Garcia. For more news in your inbox, visit KERA.org/wakeup. That's where you can subscribe to the Wake Up with KERA News newsletter. You'll get a more in-depth look into the news with plenty of good morning vibes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at KERATX. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.